Welcome back to the Startup Stage podcast. I'm your host, Brian Castle. You're in for a treat today. Let me tell you, I'm going to write a check on this guy and try to make it impossible for him to cash, but I believe in him. It's Patrick McGuire, entrepreneur, investor, advisor to the stars. They may not be stars when they come to him, but they are after they leave. Patrick is a special person within the startup ecosystem in Toronto, as well as on the StartupStage platform. He wears many hats. It's hard to pin him down. So we're going to talk about all that stuff today. Patrick, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it and everything we got with StartupStage.
Let's start early on. Let's look at your journey as an entrepreneur. Give us a glimpse into what the first part of your career, if you will, when you're out building businesses.
I would say that you probably don't want to go that far back, and it's probably pretty dark at times. But the reality is, I would say this, Brian. First of all, I'm completely unemployable, and that's in a good way. And if you go back to when I was working, I would say my parents forced me to get a job at a grocery store when I was in grade 7 before legally you were able to work, but their friend owned the friggin' store, so I had to work. Mom would drive me and drop me off, and I didn't have a choice. I was 13 at the time. Please don't call my mom and get her in trouble now. But it instilled that idea that you had to work and you had to produce and get something. Going forward, even in high school, I was working through things. I loved working with my hands. I worked for a friend of theirs who was a pilot, co-pilot friend of my stepfather's, and he built pools on the side. And my stepfather owned a real estate company with my mom on the side. So the hustle life isn't foreign to me. But even in high school, we made shirts. A bunch of friends of I and myself, we all got together and made t-shirts, like Grateful Dead t-shirts, bodybuilding workout t-shirts, kind of just stuff we wanted for ourselves and too cheap to buy. We continued that path in a university. From there, I joined the military. And when we're graduating as a tanker, we had graduating class and we had parade square, and nobody had anything to celebrate with, and they don't give you anything. So we got together and said, hey, why don't I make graduating shirts? So we designed them. I had the Leopard 3 tank. I drew it all and designed it literally on like overlay paper, tracement paper, and sent it to my buddy who owned the shirt company here in Burlington, where I live just outside of Toronto. And yes, I'm Canadian A. I had to throw the A in there because I've practiced to get rid of it. But from there on out, I've always been an entrepreneur. So by trade, I'm a registered consulting nutritional practitioner, a certified strength and conditioning coach. I've had incredible clients. I've been able to work with the likes of Dr. Barry Sears, Dr. Atkins, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Jason Ward from Carolina at the time, by the way.
Right.
Gary Roberts, so many amazing people, pro athletes. I got to do their nutrition and training. I helped pro bodybuilders because I was a meathead bodybuilder, and I did their nutrition. I did their posing routines. I did their training programs, and, it was a lot of fun. But fast forward, I had a friend of mine who said, hey, Patty, I need some help. I want to do some HR consulting stuff. He asked for some graphics. My cousin did some graphics. Then I did some. I'm kind of a Photoshop guy, and I shouldn't be, but I love it. It's boring and fun. It's a disease, like entrepreneurship. And so I said, yeah, I'll help you out. Did a marketing funnel. Then he realized he couldn't sell himself. He's a consultant. He's a pure PeopleSoft HR Oracle consultant. And he says, well, I think I'm going to build software. Okay, cool. I'll help you with some graphics, some more graphics, another email marketing funnel. And he didn't really do anything with it. I helped him launch an event, didn't do anything with that. It didn't go anywhere. Then he's like, I need a sales funnel. Can you help? Sure. Then he's like, we need sales. Meanwhile, I was spending hours and hours on top of my regular business, Empowered Nutrition at the time, just helping him. And I was there till like 3 a.m. sometimes. Sometimes I'd do my own job and have dinner and hang out with my wife a little bit. And we had a little kids at the time, very, very little. And then I would go and sometimes play hockey with him with our friends, and then go to his place and work till 3 a.m. and back at it the next morning. And that was the hustle culture, hustle lifestyle. I was a lot younger. And finally I said, hey, we need some equity because this isn't free. And if we're going to do this, I'm taking it off of the thing you're building it on, that platform, and I'm going to move it to the Salesforce platform. And we're going to build the entire HR ecosystem, which is 15 functional areas. And we're going to have at it. And he's like, nobody builds on the Salesforce platform. I know. Nobody does HR. I know. We're going to do it, and we're going to build an ERP, and we're going to exit. So that's when I really took control of that SaaS tech lifestyle back in 2009. We launched 2010. I've been blessed with the opportunity to say no to Mark Benioff. So it's a very rare occurrence, but that kicked it off. From there on out, I've been an entrepreneur consultant. I've been a coach, a mentor, advisor, board member, and I just love the entrepreneur lifestyle. It is a disease. So be careful what you wish for. Fast forward that, I'm a dad, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a friend. I will say it very clearly and honestly, I am a Christian entrepreneur. I am a faith-driven entrepreneur, mentor, and advisor. I'm also an ongoing advisor and consultant. I primarily operate as a fractional chief revenue officer / chief marketing officer. That's how I help companies. Brian, the truth is, I love to build stuff. I love to get nitty gritty, dirty. I love strategy more. I'm a bit older now, as you know. I'm 51. And I'd rather say, here's how we do all this, and go get the doers. And I'll manage them. I'll guide them. What I really would say to you is that I am that sort of opportunity to fast track entrepreneur success. And they come and say, I need a fractional chief revenue officer. I need a marketing officer. I need a strategy and game plan. What they also say is, I need someone like you on my advisory board to bolster my roster. That's what one client said to me, and I've loved that term ever since.
You describe yourself as unemployable. I started my career in corporate life and found out through getting fired a couple of times how unemployable I am. I became kind of what I like to call an accidental entrepreneur. I didn't know what it meant really until sometime in my 40s. And I figured out that, like, for me at least, I'm too wild, I'm too feral to work for other people. I have my own ideas. I want to live and die by what I hunt and gather. And it's not to say I'm hard headed and won't take advice. I seek advice all the time, but I want to control my destiny. And that you're working at 13. And I'm curious because I see it as a common denominator. I started working at 15 myself. I went to my dad. You were talking about your parents making you work at the store owned by the friends. I went to my dad and I said, yeah, some of my friends are getting an allowance. And he said, what's that? And I said, well, like just for being their parents' kid, they're getting money. and he said, well, we don't have that program here. And I said, okay. He goes, if you want money, you're going to have to get a job. And I said, well, I don't have a car.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, you probably want to look somewhere where you could walk or ride your bike. And kind of like, hey, I'd like to think I was smart enough to just figure it out, but he had to kind of connect a few dots for me. But about a week later, I was riding my bike to a water park to work at a concession stand, so, and the rest is history. I've been unmatched in my work ethic, or let's say, I won't be that arrogant. I've met a few people that match my work ethic, but what a gift my dad gave me at 15. We know these are some of the common attributes. What do you see? You've worked with so many people as an advisor and investor and gotten to kind of sit back and observe. What are some of those other attributes and behaviors you see?
Yeah, I mean, First of all, it's great that you found that work ethic early. You had a great dad that said, go get a job. I've actually recently had these conversations with my youngest son. He's 17, and it's like, can I use the truck to go to the gym and then go to the beach tomorrow? This was last night. And I'm like, well, you got to start contributing to gas. How are you going to do that? He goes, I got some money I can give you for gas. Well, where'd you get that money from? Like, people have given it to
Yeah.
him, nanny and grandpa and stuff like that. And he does do a little bit of work for a friend's dad, and he's got a little bit of cash. I'm like, it's not about paying for the gas. It's actually the integrity and the character building, the discipline. I want you to get a job for your own self-confidence and your ability to grow as a person and communicate with others. And that's what I would say is the very first thing. Rewind that full stop, going back to being a young teenager. I know things are different now. And a lot of the founders that I talk to still, they might be 26, 30 years old. They don't communicate the same. They're always nervous. Yes, we're always nervous as founders. We got to pitch ourselves, pitch a product, raise some capital. It's scary. It's super scary. But if you started out living online, and I'm going to pull up my phone even though I got on mute, but you're sitting there living online, head down, not talking to people, just messaging only, once in a while, random friends on, GTA or something like that. You just don't learn to talk. And being thrown back like you were and I was, you had to learn to talk to people. You didn't have a choice. We didn't have these devices, so that's obviously part of it. We're a bit older. But I think it's a really good thing that you've had. And I think one of the biggest things that I would say for entrepreneurs is their willingness to try, their creativity, and the good entrepreneurs, their relentlessness to never give up. I'm going to use one that's more relevant right now today, and that's Mr. Beast. This is a guy that has an unwillingness to fail. He's relentless. He communicates verbally, openly with everybody on YouTube. I think he can talk. And he probably started that as a young guy. I mean, we saw him do it on YouTube, and his parents like, that's stupid, don't do that. And he just kept doing and sharing and sharing. So he found a way to communicate effectively in his style, even though there wasn't a lot of back and forth until he got more successful. But that would be what I see in entrepreneurs that are successful today. Their relentlessness, their communication skills, they're willing to take risks, their creativity to create a product that other people want. And I would say the most successful entrepreneurs that I see, and I was just part of Code Launch, and I was presenting at the Schulich School of Business at York University. I've been part of a lot of different things, but the ones that really, really succeed have all those characteristics, and they solve a problem.
Let's talk a little bit about what I think is most valuable often as an entrepreneur myself when I'm talking to people like you and kind of learning the lessons they learned. So maybe I don't have to learn them myself in quite as hard of a way. What are some of the biggest takeaways that you've had personally from your own career as an entrepreneur that you try to impart to young squires like me that are 2 years older than you are?
Well, hey, look, let's be real. The entrepreneur's journey doesn't start when you're 2 years old. It doesn't start when you're 20. It doesn't start because you have a mentor that's older than you. Your mentor can be any age as long as they've done it before you and they have more insights than you. And an entrepreneur can be any age as long as they've got that willingness, that desire, the hustle, the creativity, the problem solving mentality,
Yeah.
the relentlessness, as we talk about. As long as they've got it, you can be any age and you can be any entrepreneur anytime. Going back for me, good and bad stuff. Well, I would say, and you hear it all the time, and I will tell you a story that goes with it. And I have not shared it openly before, but I decided just now as you were asking the question, I'm going to
Breaking
share
news.
chunks of
Breaking
it,
news
not
from
all deep.
Patrick McGuire.
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting. It's going to piss somebody off, I'm sure. Probably just one person. But get it in writing. Get it in writing. Even though your best friend may be your business partner, asking you to help them out and asking you to become a 50% shareholder in their company, when it comes down to the bottom line, the wire, Even if you've done almost all of the work, you've become the unofficial face and figurehead of the company. Everybody knows you. You've closed every single deal. You know every client intimately, personally. You know their business. They call you whenever there's something good, something bad going on. You also did all the marketing, the design, the graphics. But he had a great idea. Okay? Even though you've done all of that, when it comes down to it, ego and greed are the drivers for many people. Ego is in there. It's never going to not be a part of it. It's just human nature. But I don't have that ego. I want to help others. I want to serve others. It's been part of my nature always, to my own detriment. And the greed, well, I always assume that if we do great work, returns will come. Great returns will come. So fast forward, building a company from 0 to 23 months, acquired by the number 2 on the Salesforce platform, Financial Force. I got an offer from the 5 companies I wrote down the day we agreed to be partners at 50%. When all was said and done, somehow he adjusted the numbers, had the board agree to it, and provided me with a whole 6% with a promise that the employee stock options, which were never issued, of 10% would come my way. Still not the 50 we agreed to. And meanwhile, I did this while he was working at another job for the first year because I told him, stay there, get your bonuses, I'll take care of everything. So you can double dip. So go forward, get it in writing. Don't trust your best friend. So that's where I learned no matter how bad you think it is, it can always get worse. And no matter how bad you think it is, it can always get better. Entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. Consulting and financing, fundraising for entrepreneurs is also a roller coaster. And it ebbs and tides. When you eat well, you eat really well. And when you don't, you don't. But that's kind of just part of it. That's the position that I say I'm unemployable. I love the lifestyle. I love helping other entrepreneurs. And yeah, it's come many times, many times where people don't keep their word and their promise. You help them anyways. And then you say next. And that's what I would say to every entrepreneur now is next. That's your favorite word from now on. Someone says, no, great, thank you very much, next. And they're like, why is he so happy? Next. I just said no. I know, thank you, bye. So those are things that I like. I enjoy them. I like the struggle. I also like the reward and the win at the end. And not everything works out. So not everything's going to be a win guaranteed. But if you enjoy the process and you learn from it, you've succeeded. If you make money, maybe you really succeeded. I don't know.
That's what I tell every new client. And a lot of my business is by referral. So I'll always note this to the referring partner. It never gets old for me.
Yeah.
Like that joy, it's beyond dopamine.
Most recently, I work with Futurepreneur, which is a free mentorship program for young entrepreneurs. It's Young Entrepreneurs Organization Canada became Futurepreneur Global. And this group, I didn't know this till last Thursday on a call with them, but they said, hey, you know that we just started working with you in like May was our first call. And since we started working with you, we were at 28,000 MRR. And just last Thursday, Brian, they told me they went to Mexico for their company. It's a big, large men's health organization that's growing North American wide, mostly in the States. They're the number 1 fastest growing franchise location in the company. And they told me that they're now at 82,000 MRR for July. It's only the second week. So like these are huge wins. And the dopamine, as you said, it hits. And I'm like, oh my goodness, these guys are awesome. And I said, they're awesome. They're like, no, you helped us with this, this, and that. I'm like, no, you guys did it. I just gave you an idea.
All right, Patrick, let's shoot to the present tense, current events. Let's talk about your value proposition as a fractional chief revenue officer. I think you're doing a little bit of that work right now.
The nice thing that I get to do is I'm that weird blend of the executive. I come at it from a founder's perspective, also as an investor's perspective, and the person that's been in the trenches doing exactly what they've done before. So, I know exactly how founders feel. I have felt the same way. And what I found is all these things that we can do to mitigate the problems, increase success. And what I do is I really try and crunch things down. So I get that blessing and that opportunity to say, hey, you need someone to give you guidance as a mentor, advisor, consultant, or fundraiser. And what I do is take this chief revenue officer's hat and the chief marketing officer's hat, and I basically smash them together. And I go, here's your strategy session. We've had people that even in startup stage and in other organizations that I work with, Altitude Accelerator, Futurepreneur, they walk away from a 60-minute strategy session and they go, no, I think I got everything I need. I'm going to go execute this stuff that Patrick said. Reality check is they probably don't get the whole picture because I don't share the whole picture and I don't share the execution points. They're going to get probably 50, 60, 80% right. I would say as an experienced founder, chief revenue officer, chief marketing officer, that 20% is the difference maker. That's what they're missing. Spending time with somebody like myself or yourself on your side, Brian, or with Jeremy, or I can give you a whole list of fractional experts that will bring that edge that you've never even thought of, that will take your business, your marketing, your brand, your reputation, and your revenue to a completely different level. I'm choosing to help more people more often. And at startup stage, we can probably see a bigger end goal for the founders than they see for themselves. And I am confident I can see something great inside of those founders that they can't even begin to pull out of themselves. They have no idea it exists. And if we can just polish that chunk of coal and put it under enough pressure without breaking it, we're going to polish it, and we're going to turn out an incredible diamond. And that's our roadmap. That's our wish. We want to be able to take these startups, entrepreneurs from an idea to something finished. And we have the tech partners that can hustle, that can help them go from a napkin to an MVP. I was just doing that with Code Launch just recently, right? We took MVPs, they were ideas. 12 weeks later, they actually had an MVP that they pitched on stage. And I was one of those lucky people to be a judge. And I got to mentor a few of them. And it's just awesome seeing that. I had no financial reward in that. I actually spent money to be part of that and go to it and coffees and gas and whatever, meeting with entrepreneurs. But seeing that end game, that's hugely rewarding. And we do that with Startup Stage. It's really an anti-accelerator. It's a zero equity strategy. Most people want something before you even have a conversation. And we don't think that way. We think differently. We want to help people get their goals and accomplish something great.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Startup Stage. It's obviously what connected the two of us. And what was the appeal for you? I'm curious. You've performed, and I have too, to a degree, but you've performed in a lot of frameworks and being a solo advisor and being a part of different groups. What's the appeal of this one?
It's an interesting one. I mean, Jeremy and I connected on LinkedIn, and we just decided to have a conversation, and it was easy as that. He says, "Hey, I think we got some common things in place. Maybe we should have a talk." So we talked, and we had a great time. The two of us connected, and we both shot some ideas at each other and let it go for a bit and said, "Hey, if something pops up, let's get back together." So sure enough, those commonalities and traits came along. We looked at each other's posts and materials and what he's doing with Startup Stage. And, I am part of groups that help companies get funded or get from zero to a launch strategy to a go-to-market. I often do the go-to-markets for them. And then I often end up raising capital for them or connecting them with capital. I'll call myself a capital connector. I'm not a licensed broker. I make sure I make those introductions. And, a lot of times I'll do a lot of this stuff for free anyways. And that's foolish, because if you can't sustain yourself the way you need your lifestyle and travel and whatnot for events and activities and family, you can't support your clients. So what I did like, and that was different, I've been part of some accelerators. A company I built was a sports tech play, Hype Sports Innovation, absolutely awesome. They've done a great job at packaging up their accelerator model. They make it sound like a really great idea, and in some cases it is, but they'll do warrants for like 5%. So a warrant is not a guarantee that they're taking equity, and it's not a guarantee they're actually giving you cash or introducing you to cash. But it's, hey, we're going to help give you an accelerator life expectancy, if you will, or results that should get you closer to capital. And if we introduce you to the capital and they invest, we're going to co-invest at a reduced rate to claim our warrants. So I like that. Really cool. But it's still not necessarily giving it away for free. I think that we can do a lot more, not for free, because if it's free, it has no value to you or me. So it's not worth it. But we can do it in a way that we don't take equity. And that's what I really liked about StartupStage. Zero equity, non-dilutive. And I teach founders all the time, the most expensive mistake you are going to make today is giving away your equity. And I literally mean that, because you're giving it away. I know that from experience, because we sold a piece of equity and 11 months later we exited. And that was, it's not a lot of money, mathematically speaking, it was very small. But that was a couple $1 million mistake. So with this non-dilutive zero equity play, the anti-accelerator, providing all the accelerated experiences that StartupStage is doing with Jeremy and the team, it made a lot of sense to come on board. They also, Jeremy was very clear in saying, hey, look, you've got something unique. You got great experience. You know tech, you know SaaS, you know physical goods. This is a good relationship. We both have a very strong faith position as well, where we want to help and serve others and make a difference in the world, whether through startups or through other things. So we just said, let's get at this. Let's get to work. And going into it with zero expectations of equity or return, that's my value proposition anyways. So why not do it? Why not give founders access to technology that they couldn't afford on their own anyways, because we have a great tech stack that saves them thousands of dollars annually, tens of thousands if you do the math, depending on what you need, of course, or being able to introduce them to capital, being able to increase fundraising connections, being able to teach them how to do outreach and fundraising, how to practice pitch on their own. Like, we'll do that with zero equity, zero expectations. And when they do need something special, they ask us for it. I believe everybody's tired of the accelerator that takes money. First of all, takes equity, takes your cash because you got to pay to be part of it. They make you jump through hoops to get in there in order to give them cash and equity. A lot of accelerators are doing incredible work and doing great things and launching unicorns and stuff like that. I'll say launching unicorns into space probably. But the reality is, they're not doing it for the founders. They're doing it for themselves, because their 10%, 20% equity stake in your company for not doing the work themselves is tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in free money for them. But they do put together great programs. They do teach you how to do this work yourself, but you still have to do the work. So StartupStage, we do that too. The difference is, we're not stealing your equity. And that's what I liked about it.
Yeah, I so agree. And I actually work at a venture capital firm, and we see it all the time, where founders come to us for that big jump,
Yeah.
or the next big jump. And you look at the cap table and you see what's happened, kind of, that's your history book. And okay, so what happened there? And you don't see a lot of value sometimes.
No, it's just
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you see incredible value, but then other times you say, gosh, I ought to open that kind of thing up and take some easy money off people.
Yeah, it's another line item, right? It's another expense, is my opinion.
Yeah.
I do like it because, hey, look, being that capital connector, the chief revenue officer, how do we make money? How do we save money? And how do we raise and how much do we raise without giving away equity or diluting it too much? And we have some great tools to get you some quick wins, to get you some quick, easy access to capital. I then tell them and teach them founders funds, family and friends, leverage capital, like going through this application that costs you nothing. Find out what programs you can get up to maybe $500,000, a couple of million. And then we can talk about what's your next step and how much capital do you really need.
This is a lot of fun. I knew it would be. You cashed the check that I wrote for you.
Very cool. Thank you.
Um, everybody, Patrick McGuire, take a bow, sir. And we'll have you back soon. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Have a fantastic day.